We've all been there. Remember the first time you started Flight Simulator 2020, when it was just released and you selected your favorite airport, and then waited until the aircraft loaded, and you looked around and you were greeted in a ghost town of generic pointy-nosed planes. Some were white, some had some really weird coloring. It kills the immersion instantly. For years we relied on external injectors to fix this, but they eat up your CPU, and let's be honest, they're a pain to launch every single flight, although there are workarounds for that. But what if I told you the solution is already sitting on your hard drive? Today I'm going to show you how to hijack the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 engine to get 100% free branded traffic using a priority folder trick, no external injectors required. First, let's address the elephant in the room. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 actually has grey data. It uses FlightAware to track real-world planes. The problem isn't the data, it's the models. The sim doesn't have the skins or liveries to match that data. For the beginners out there, a livery is just a paint job, and an injector is a separate program that forces those planes into your sim. Today we're cutting out the middleman, we're going to give the simulator the models it needs so it can do the heavy lifting itself. To make this work we need a library of planes. We're gonna use two tools, FSLTL and AIG. I will first show you where you can download them. I will skip the installing part because that's really next finish, and then I will show you how you can download those models. The first one is the Alpha India group. You need to download the AIG AI Manager. You can simply click the download option. I will paste the link in the description of this video so you can download it yourself. The second one is FSLTL, which is installed by the fly-by-wire installer. So the fly-by-wire installer from flybywiresim.com. You can click on the link, download it, and then simply install it. So now let's look at how we can install those models. First, we're going to start with fly-by-wire. So fly-by-wire, we simply start the software. Here it is, fly-by-wire installer, that's the one you need. The first thing you need to make sure is that you are having the correct version of Flight Simulator, so in this case 2020. The other thing which you need to double check is if you click on the settings, you will find this window. Go to download and make sure that your community folder is correctly selected as well as the installation folder. If it's not correctly selected, it will not install it correctly, and then of course it doesn't work. By the way, for those who are playing both Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024, keep an eye on my channel because I will show you a very smart option which saves you a lot of disk space. But going back to this part, once you've done this, go to the FSLTL, which is the radar. Then you will find the base models. You can simply click on install. I already did it and you can see it's installed. This will take some time because it needs to download the tool and then install it. Once it's installed, you go to your community folder. So in my case, I will go to MSFS and then go inside my community folder, and there I will find the FSLTL traffic base. This is the base package which is needed to add those models. You will find, for example, if you go to Sim Objects and Airplanes, you will find multiple aircrafts. And if you would look at this, you would see the ICAO codes of the airliners. So this is the A20N for FI India. This is the one for HVN. Probably we also have KLM somewhere. Here we've got KLM, but also the other ones are there. You can see pretty long list, 2,550 items currently, so that's a lot. So that's how you simply can validate if the tool has been installed correctly. Now the other tool. So for this one, what you need to do is you download the zip. So what I did is I put the zip in a temp folder, and then I've put it in, or extracted it into a separate folder. And here you can see the AIG AI Manager. The first time you start it will download updates. Those updates, you can see it already has done it for me. So I won't need to do it, but in your case, you might need to say install them, right? That's really up to you. In this case, you can see that there's also an update for the AIG Manager. So in that case, I will simply press the key and then will automatically install that update. Really easy. Once it's done that, it will come up with this window. You need to look very carefully, but here you can select Flight Simulator 2020. So once you've done that, you press OK and it will start up the AI manager. The first time it will start loading configuration files because there's nothing installed. Here it says, okay, hey, this is the first time the scenery cache is generated for your sim. If you have a lot of scenery installed, it's suggested to run a slower collection mode that will reduce the required memory. Do you want to run it? I don't care, so I will say no. But if you are having low memory, then consider lowering the memory. This will take some time, so now we'll skip to the part where it really started the tool, because loading the aircraft will take some time. So the tool has opened, and if I, let's say, open it, I can do a lot of things. I can say set up OCI. For those who don't know what OCI is, it's one-click installer. If I click that option, it will open a wizard which will guide me to these steps. So it automatically picks the correct configuration, it automatically picks the correct folder. I can click next and then simply click next. And then hopefully it has installed the tool. That sometimes takes some time, but not too much, as you can see. Once you've done this, you can see that nothing has been installed. So now you need to install the flight plans, because the flight plans also include the aircraft models. You can do that either using this option. This will install all the 2,848 flight plans, or you can go to the quick install and use only the models which you prefer. It's really up to you what you want to do, but keep in mind that if you install them, you might see differences, because if you, for example, only installed, let's say the US or the Americas, you won't see the Europe liveries in Flight Simulator 2020. But it's really up to you, because you can see it's a pretty long list. So let's assume that I want to install the liveries only for the US. I can do that. I can go to OCI. I can go to quick install and then press the option. Let's say North America, right? So we do that. Then it pops up this window. It says, okay, hey, I'm going to install all these things. And then you click on it and then you need to wait. Of course, I'm not going to show you everything here because this is a little bit boring to watch at, but this is how the process works. In some cases, it will time out. I've seen it once or twice, but in most cases, it will work flawlessly. The only thing you need is, or either I would say, do something else, right? Spend time doing something else, or drink some coffee or go walk outside. I'm not sure what you want to do, because this takes, depending on your internet speed, it could take a serious amount of time. But there's another option from AIG. They released a new version of the AI Manager, which contains the option to download the base package. If you press this option, you can simply click the option and then click download, which will download the full content directly into the community folder for Flight Simulator. It will directly download the content in the correct folder, so the community folder, and then you're good to go. Unfortunately, there's no progress bar, right? It only says show downloading, which would be, I would say, helpful if there would be a percentage, for example. But this is how it currently works, and this will make sure that you get all the models with one click. So let's do some performance testing. We're going to test the default flight simulator vs FSLTL vs AIG, and we're going to measure the, let's say, starting time. Is there a delay when adding FSLTL and AIG? Based on, I would say, some previous testing with other add-ons, I do think there will be some differences. You can see that I kind of, would say, split up in 3 layers, so we can clearly see which one is faster. Now, this will take some time, right? Because it's the default black screen, and then you will see the logos. You will see the Asobo logo and the other one. And then we see the real loading screens, which will appear soon. It's really interesting to test this because there was a remark on my previous video about Flight Simulator 2024 that it caused a large delay. I'm testing this, of course, with, I would say, pretty good hardware. I would say with an SD drive, which is good. I will post the specs of my machine inside the description of this video so you can have a look at it, because else I know that I will get some questions, which is completely fair to ask, of course. So here you can already see there are some delays. You can see some weird things happening, but it's always with that intro video. So let's see, okay, which one is winning. So here we go. You can see that both the default and the FSLTL one are kind of okay. Then AIG was a little bit delayed, but here it goes. You can see some small delays over here. And I, of course, already know which one's going to win because I edited this video. And I do think that most of you are not surprised which one will win. Because if you think logically, if there is less to load, it will be simply faster. That's simply the magic. Keep in mind there are some content in the directories, so it's not completely empty. I tried to clean up as much as possible, but left some things in. And here we go. The default one wins. But then, let's see which one is next. If it's FSLTL or AIG. The next one is AIG. Yes, that might surprise you, but there might be a valid reason for this. Maybe it's due to the number of models. Let's see how long the FSLTL does take. But you can see, based on the remark from somebody, hey, it's delaying the start of Flight Simulator 2020. Yes, this is confirmed. Both AIG and FSLTL are causing a delay in the installation of, or in the startup of Flight Simulator 2020. But hey, is it really bad? Well, let's see how it goes when we're moving to an airport. For example, London Heathrow. So now the second test. We're gonna load, or spawn as we always call it, on London Heathrow. And as you can see, there are some differences, right? You can see that, first of all, the screenshots are not 100% equal. I'm not sure why, but there are some differences here. But you will see that it loads, say, pretty okay, right? Nothing weird happens. But wait, you will see something which I also didn't expect in a few seconds. Of course, when loading this, it needs to compile the content, right? So what I did is I installed both FSLTL and AIG and then simply started it. So the compiling needs to happen on both ends, both FSLTL and AIG, although I do think it's minimal compared to, for example, new aircrafts, which are, let's say, a little bit more resource intensive once you start it for the first time. So you can see things are going on. Let's say text is still correct. You can see some differences over there. And then let's see what happens in a few seconds. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. And here we can see the difference, right? You can see that, I would say, FSLTL and AIG, they were almost done already loading at the same time, right? That's where they're ready to fly. That's where I stopped the recording for both of them. And you can see that the default one, for some reason, takes longer. I'm not sure what's causing this. I do think it might have to do with real traffic, but I'm not 100% sure. If you got any suggestions, then let me know, because I'm really curious what could cause this difference. Before looking at the results, let me show you a quick tweak which you can use to manipulate which model is preferred above the other. And that can only be done on vendor base, so either FSLTL is prioritized or, in this case, AIG. So what you need to do is the following. You go to your community folder and then rename this folder. You can either do that by right-clicking and then go to show more properties and then rename, or you can simply press the F2 key while selecting this and then simply add 01 minus, right? The reason why is that if you sort the folders, this folder is now on the top, which means that Flight Simulator will read this folder first and therefore prioritizing this folder above the rest. You can do the same thing for, I would say, other folders such as the PNG ones, or you can deprioritize the AIG ones by, for example, putting, well, let's say ZZ and then underscore in front of it, and do the same thing for the other ones. This is a small tweak which you can apply and not really hard, to be honest. If you know where your community folder is, then it's easy to do. And for those who don't know where their community folder is, have a look at the description of this video, because there are the default locations for your community folder if you, of course, didn't make any changes. So now let's have a look at what the results are. But before we're gonna look at the results, let's first make sure that the settings are set correctly, because that's really important. And to do that, you go to the options menu, and inside the options menu, you go to the general options. Inside the general options, you go to the traffic and then make sure that the air traffic type is set to real-time online. This is super important because else it simply doesn't work. Keep in mind there's an internet connection required because else it doesn't work. And to make it easier, you can also switch on the traffic nameplates. So it shows the, say, airliner names and aircraft types if you want. Besides that, you don't really need to tweak anything. In Flight Simulator 2024, you've got more options. But in this case, for Flight Simulator 2020, you can't change much, as you can see, because this one is currently grayed out. Maybe they will change in the future. I don't think so, but maybe they will do. I think it doesn't do it unless you set it to AI offline. So in this case, you need to deal with the settings which Microsoft and Sobo have set for you. And now, of course, the most important test. What's the quality? So let's look at London Heathrow, which we can find over here. Let me zoom in a little bit further. You can see it's already a little bit later in the evening, but that's always cool. A little bit here further. Here we go. And here you can see all the, let's say, traffic popping up. Here you can see the traffic already. And we're going to click on fly. So the advantage of Flight Simulator 2020 is that it loads the let's say, traffic faster. But let's see how accurate it is. In Flight Simulator 2024, you always get the error that you need to wait for the flight data. But the Flight Simulator 2020, that's actually, I would say, pretty nice. It goes really fast. I do think that they're using a different mechanism. At least that's my guess. I'm not 100% sure about that. But let's see how it really looks like. You can see that it loads the data. So in this case, I combined the two, right? So I will probably speed up this part a bit because it doesn't make sense to watch at this. So here we are, London Heathrow. So let's click on ready to fly and we're inside an aircraft. So now let's go outside the aircraft because we want to see the other traffic. Here we go. I'm gonna hide this one, although I'm gonna change one setting. I'm gonna change the speed because else it will take a little bit long to fly. So I can set to roughly 100. Here we go. And now let's go airborne with the drone. So let me also record the sound of the aircraft because it's always nice to hear. But also let me open, in this case, Flight Radar 24. As you can see, Flight Radar 24, according to Flight Radar 24, it's super busy at the airport. Well, as you can see, it is indeed super busy. But if we would have a close look at the runways, we don't see any aircraft on the runway yet. And that's because Flight Radar 24 is, between brackets, always real time. There is, of course, always a delay due to safety measurements. And in this case, Flight Simulator 2020 doesn't use it. It uses that other tool, which is FlightAware. And if we look at FlightAware, you can see a lot of differences here. You won't see as much aircrafts compared to Flight Radar 24. For those who watch my video in, for those who watch my video for Flight Simulator 2024, you've already seen it, right? There's a delay because you can't see the taxiing aircraft, for example, which Flight Radar 24 does show for some reason. But FlightAware doesn't show. It only shows you the aircrafts which are arriving and departing. So if we look close, we can see, I'd say, a lot of things, right? We can see a lot of traffic around the airport. Currently, we don't see anything yet on the airport. But what we do see, if we, for example, go to this Airbus A380, it has that updated livery, which is part of the model pack. So this is what you will get if you apply the models, then you will get this nice traffic. Super nice. I really love it. If we now go to the other part, right, let me also look for some other aircrafts, some smaller ones. You will see that they also have now a livery. For example, here you can see the other aircrafts, right? You can see China Airlines, you can see Emirates over here. And if we would move over to the other side, we can see Iberia. We can see more Emirates. We can see Qantas. Super cool that you have these additional, let's say, liveries. And you hear a lot of noise because there's one aircraft taking off. In this case, this is likely an, I would say, an online flyer. So Tom ZDX. So have fun. But also there's another one coming in, which is really dangerous. Oh, if they don't collide. And this is the MSR 779. If we look at the screen now from FlightAware, you can see that it's pretty interesting because the aircraft is here still in the air. So we see the similar pattern as with Flight Simulator 2024, that sometimes the aircraft is earlier on the runway than, let's say, according to FlightAware. Also, the taxiing is still really weird, but hey, that's something which we also see in Flight Simulator 2024. Now let's see if we can spot some other aircraft, because there are a lot of them are taking off. As you can see, it's pretty busy at the airport, as already mentioned a few times. So let's see if we can spot some other things. So here we go. Here we can see BAW. That's likely this one. Yeah, BAW 314. No, this is not the 314. This is the 419. But maybe we can see some other aircrafts. Let's see. It's not that busy, as you can see. It's, let's say, 14494. Was that the one? No. Not sure where the one is. It looks like it has disappeared. Also happens in Flight Simulator. Here we've got BAW 735. This one is also not on the map, as you can see. It's landing on the airport, but you don't see it yet on Flight Radar. Or, sorry, not Flight Radar, FlightAware. On Flight Radar, you probably would have already seen it. Here we can see an A319 arriving at the airport. And this is what you will get. So you will get a lot of nice things, but the downside of Flight Simulator 2020 currently is that you can't switch off the multiplayers, as far as I know. Maybe there's an option. If you know how to do it, then let me know. I don't think there is a way to do it. With Flight Simulator 2024, you can do it. But let's say the most important thing is that all the aircrafts are looking far more realistic with these nice liveries. Here you can see a Virgin Atlantic being pushed back, and this will likely, would say, take off soon. But we're not going to monitor this anymore, because this is what I wanted to show you, and you could see it's really nice. If you absolutely hate installers, there are also community-made packs on Github, which you can simply download and install, both for FSLTL as well as for AIG. Simply download them and then drop them in the community folder, and you're done. So, looking at the delay. Is 10 minutes of real-world delay worth having a perfectly populated branded airport? I do think so. But I want to hear from you, of course, because I'm really curious what you think. Are you sticking with this free hybrid setup, or are you waiting for a paid 100% real-time solution? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, then don't forget to hit the like button, and I hope to see you back another time for another video.